Recently, I got around to watching RWBY Volume 8, and due to some really strange editing and staging choices, I spent the entirety of the season thinking that Clover Ebi was alive. And I wasn't the only one.
Was sorta hoping Clover would stay dead, but guess not.
We need body bags unless Clover is still hanging on.
Though it looked like he was killed in the last episode of Volume 7, and he's certainly looking pale now. Perhaps it's not the last the audience has seen of Clover.
And here I was thinking that Clover
Sir,
was
the prisoners have
completely
arrived.
killed.
They're being
So let's talk about why. According to Wikipedia, the Kuleshov effect is a mental phenomenon by which viewers derive more meaning from the interaction of two sequential shots than from a single shot in isolation. Simply speaking, information is implied in how shots are stitched together. Let's do a little experiment. I'm going to show you a series of short clips and a cat reacting to each one. Ready? Let's go. Despite the cat being the exact same GIF, did it seem more playful after the butterfly? Hungry after the tuna? In love with Aragorn? That's the Kuleshov effect in action. Now look at these two shots. Out of context, what do they say to you? The immediate implication is that Ironwood is seeing Clover at the exact angle that we, the audience, saw him in. Though later shots prove this impossible, on a first watch you're not paying attention to the background, so you're not going to notice the inconsistency. It doesn't help that Clover's corpse is almost entirely eclipsed by the Aesops' unmoving bodies. Not to mention, the only decent frame of Clover we get is a brief shot that's so ambiguous as to his position that I still think he's reclining on the bed. Which leads me into... I'll be honest, I don't know if this is a legit thing or just something I've noticed in my many binges of murder mysteries, but there's some specific patterns, almost visual tropes in the camera work surrounding corpses. Firstly, they establish the entire body. The camera will sweep over the bag or do a head-to-toe pan, often paired with the unveiling of the face. At the very least, they'll have a shot of someone standing over the body. Every action and angle reflects the absence of life. In contrast, when someone is resting in a hospital, the camera typically focuses on the torso up, allowing for dialogue and movement depending on the severity of the injury. You'll have folks gather around the patient, each overcome with their own emotions as they grapple with their loved one's condition. When you see these visuals, you're more likely to relate it to things you've already seen rather than what's intended. I may have noticed the paleness of Clover's skin and the textureless slab first go around, but the cinematic language told me that this man was alive and in a deep coma. And sure, some of the staples of hospital patients are missing, but I'm not putting any faith in a hospital that puts corpses in the patient wing. Something that hospitals are very concerned about is making sure that patients focus on their health rather than their impending mortality. After all, seeing corpses in the room across the hall might make you nervous for your prostate exam. And yet, Clover Ebi, newly deceased gay bait, is in the same damn hall as Winter Schnee. According to Medical Daily, whenever a patient dies, the body is cleaned, placed on a gurney, and fully covered with a sheet before being transported down to the morgue. A quick, clean process that doesn't allow anyone to sightsee or reminisce. Clover should not be here. What's truly baffling about this problem is how easy it is to avoid in the first place. They could have wheeled Clover past Winter's room in a body bag or under a sheet. They could have had the Aesops waiting outside the surgery room and watched their hopes fall when the surgeons shake their heads. If you wanted to keep the focus on Ironwood, have him visit Clover in the morgue, then ride the elevator 6 floors up. Because, let's hammer in that now. However, the most effective way this could have gone is with a send-off. In a world rife with death, we know precious little about how Remnant deals with its dead. Not one season has allocated time to their necrotic leftovers. Yeah, sometimes there are reasons. Penny's robot parts were used, Roman Torchwick was eaten alive, though it does call into question how Neo got his hat. Do Grimm have digestive systems? And Pyrrha was incinerated. This would have been the perfect time to showcase how Atlas deals with the dead. Do they have coffin burials? Do they prefer cremation? Viking pyres? Do they shoot corpses at the grim? With a weak setting, we could have gotten a wealth of information. Passage of time between seasons, plans going forward, how far along Winter and Ironwood's recovery is, and some look into each character's mental state over current events. Not only would it have been informative, but it would have been far more visually interesting. Can you imagine how much more impactful the murder of the senator would have been had he burst in on Clover's funeral? Can you imagine the culture surrounding a world where death is a constant yet common tragedy? RWBY sure didn't! I know it seems like I'm harping too much on a barely 2-minute scene, but it's a microcosm of the bigger issue that the people in charge of RWBY aren't thinking their show through. They're not paying attention to the world they created, and it feels like they don't care. People who care about their work don't make mistakes like having the dead mingle with the living in a place of healing. Like having Winter still recovering from being lightly roasted, but having Ironwood go full Deku, getting his arm treated before having it amputated, and then having it healed enough for a prosthetic. Hell, Clover's dead because they stalled his part of the plot until Ironwood could declare martial law and jumpstart Robin's self-righteous dumbassery. This sloppy, ill-conceived, poorly constructed, and frankly lazy scene is reflected in almost every aspect of the show at large. And it's insulting. I hope that one day we get to see how Remnant honors its dad. But I'm not holding my breath. After all, the crew won't know where to put my body.